So one big thing was happening all over the world, especially in Europe and in the United States. And it's the first thing that is over here. Can you read it? Slavery. So slavery means taking people and selling them. Selling the people to work in different things. So where were they taking people from? What do you think? Where were the slaves from? Yeah. From Africa. Where else were the slaves from?
From Latin America.
A little bit from Latin America, but the slaves were mostly from Africa and the indigenous population. So all the indigenous people that were originally in the United States, they were captured and sold as slaves as well. So slavery was happening all over the world, right? There were slaves in all the European countries, in the United States. But suddenly things started to change. People were like, these slaves, they don't look happy. Why don't they look happy? Why do you think they don't look happy? Because they are slaves, because they are being forced to work, right? They are taken away from their families, they're forced to work, and they can never become free, right? So people started thinking, they don't look happy. Maybe we should change things. So it started in Europe. People started abolishing slavery. Abolishing means getting rid of. No more slavery. So people in Europe started abolishing slavery. The French did it, the British did it, the Spanish did it. But the United States, because it was a very new country, they were like, well, we need people to work. How are we going to get people to work and to build all the things, to grow all the food that we need if we don't have slaves? So they didn't want to get rid of the slaves. And here is when the Civil War started, because of slaves. In the United States, there were different types of settlements. There were the territories in the South, and there were the territories in the North. And how do you think they were different? How were the different territories different? How were the North and the South different? Do you think they had the same weather? No, they didn't have the same weather. And if they have different weather, do they grow the same things, the same food? No. So in the South, the economy was very, very reliant, so it needed a lot of plantations to grow different things. A plantation means a place where food is grown or crops are grown. And what were the big plantations? There were plantations of cotton. Cotton is a type of cloth. Do you know what it is? Can you say it in Spanish? Yes, cotton. So there were big cotton plantations. There were big tobacco plantations. And different fruits and foods and different things were growing in the South. So in the South, there were a lot of plantations. And the plantation owners, the people who had these plantations, needed people to work. So they got a lot of slaves to work there. Because they didn't have to pay them, they were slaves. And they just had to give them some food, and that was it. So in these plantations, there was a lot of slave labor. People working there who were slaves. But in the North, it was colder. Did they have as many plantations? No. Their economy was different. They had a lot of people who were who were merchants, who would trade things, and they didn't need as many slaves. So in the North, they were traveling a lot more. And they were traveling to Europe, and they were seeing, they don't have slaves anymore. Maybe we should do the same thing. But in the South, which was poorer, it didn't have as much money, they were like, no, we definitely need slaves. So there was this big difference between the North and the South. The North didn't want slaves anymore, and the South wanted the slaves. Then came a president of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. Have you heard of Abraham Lincoln before? Yes? when you see photos of him, he's always wearing what? A big hat, right? So Abraham Lincoln was the president of the United States, and he was elected. But he was elected president by all the North states, the states in the North. The states in the South, none of them voted for Abraham Lincoln. So there was a big difference. The people in the South felt like, oh, Abraham Lincoln is from the North, and he's the president. He is going to stop slavery, and we are going to lose all our money, all our plantations. So they declared a war on the North. They decided, we are no longer part of the United States of America. We are the South. We are the Confederate States of the United States. So they declared independence, and Abraham Lincoln was like, no, we are one country. We need to all come together. And there was fights. There was fighting. The main fight was because of this, because of slavery. And because the states in the South felt like, no, if we lose slavery, we will never be wealthy as the North again. Okay. But it was a very bloody battle. A lot of people died. Families were fighting against each other, which is what happens in civil wars. People who were brothers, who were living one in the North and one in the South, they were fighting against each other because of slavery. But then at the end of the war, in 1861, 2, 3, there was a lot of fights. Then in 1863, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. The Emancipation Proclamation said that there would be no more slaves. That all the slaves that existed right now would be free. The South did not like that. They did not accept it. So they kept on fighting. But by 1865, the North was winning. So the South declared defeat, and the North won. Okay? I want to show you a map. This is the map of the North in blue and the South in red. Here are other territories that were undecided. They didn't know if they were in the North or in the South. And here, California and Oregon were part of the North. Even though they're not technically in the North, they were in the West, but they consider themselves part of the North. Okay? So this is the map during the Civil War, the different people that were fighting within the United States. After the Civil War came a period